I drive my car up to the lake as if there's someone to awake. I haven't been to bed for days, I live in a twilight haze. I set my heart to the setting sun, and I hope that no one else has done it, and the drinks are never far. Open up the bar. I miss you every single day. I wait until I know your way. I hate the way I stray into these every day.
Man, time flies.
Yeah, I know.
Time flies.
So do people.
Yeah. Hey, Marcus, thanks for coming back on the podcast. Your business is called Business Mastery.
Correct.
And you're still using the actionCOACH
methodology or framework.
Yep. And we were just saying you were here a year ago. What's been happening since then? What? You've been
Just a couple wee things. Well, for us, we've moved office, so we moved out of the city and into Sydenham, into a bigger space. We got a finance coach on board, so we're moving to more of a specialised coaches model or coaching model.
Yep.
And just hired a business development person as well. So, that's been a big change for us.
Totally.
We launched a boardroom program last year, which has been amazing. And other than that,
So you're seeing growth yourself in your own business, and you're having to, make decisions, work out what to do, who to employ, and navigate what your clients essentially have to navigate as well.
yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
same thing.
Is it different when you're in the driver's seat, kind of going, oh crap? Do you sometimes go, man, I told that guy to do that and I haven't been doing it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the beauty. We have a saying in our business, like, eat your own cooking. You know, if you don't do the things that you say other people should do, then it's not going to go so well for you.
No, man.
So for us, and for me personally, yes, I love it. I love running teams. I love managing people. I love, being involved in running a business, whether that's doing forecasting or whether that's looking at our P&L or whether that's, doing marketing. I love that stuff. So it's great, but it is challenging, as you said, to practice what you preach and do the things that you're telling other people to do.
Yeah.
And we don't get it right all the time. I don't get it right all the time. And we've got gaps, like we've got things we need to work on and are working on. But yeah, that's the game, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's perfectly normal in any area of life or any profession. You do something at work, it's like this, and then, the builder's house is like half built or not completed. It's kind of like, what? But, I mean, that's perhaps not the way it's meant to be. Cool, man. That's cool. So tell me about the finance guy.
Yeah, so Gustav's our finance coach. He's from South Africa, ran an accounting practice over there, and then moved out, or sold that and moved out here to New Zealand. And so he takes all our clients through monthly finance sessions. So schooling them up on how to use Xero properly and get good quality data out of that.
Yeah.
Putting budgets in place, understanding their financial statements, and so he's been awesome. He's super passionate. He's probably one of the few entrepreneurial accountants that I know that actually likes numbers or sees numbers from a perspective where he's looking to grow, not constrain the spending, if that makes sense.
Well, accountants are sort of...
That's a very broad generalisation.
Yeah, totally. Let's just use it.
Let's go
but,
with that.
they want to tighten the purse strings and they want to save money and they're quite cautious in nature generally.
Yeah,
so, but an entrepreneur...
Old term, the bean counter.
The bean counter.
All that. Yeah, it's got those connotations to it.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
So he takes a more of an entrepreneurial kind of approach where he understands perhaps.
Don't get me wrong, he still loves...
100%. But there's a dynamicism and a bit of inspiration in there as well.
100%. And I think that comes from when you've run your own business. You understand about the difference between a budget for the sake of constraining spending and an investment in a team member who's going to create a return for the business, or an investment in a piece of software. Or
But there's like a life involved in that, with the other ones like death.
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's pretty black and white, Milton.
Yeah, bro. No, like one's constrained and tight, and the other's expansive and got breath going through it.
Yeah, and look, I think at the moment, in the economy in which we are in, it is important to have that, to be looking at things, not just, like anything, there's attack and defence. There's some, to be effective in any pursuit of life, you have to be able to go forward and backward, attack and defend. And so if you're just looking at your business right now and you're like, grow, well, wake up, because there's some other stuff going on. Yeah. But in saying that, if all you're doing, and we've seen this a lot recently, is when people get in that constrain
kind of mindset,
you are stuffed. Like the business that I would be most worried about right now, or the business owner that I would be worried about most right now, is the owner that's just like suck it all out.
There's that Terence McKenna thing, self-similar across scale. Like if I'm climbing up doing some rock climbing, and I'm holding on and my arms like tweaking out, getting tighter and tighter and tighter, you're going to fall off. So how can that work in business? And there has to be a time where you let go and expand and get your breath back. Yeah,
I mean, like so we do this exercise with our clients where we'll go through their P&L, their profit and loss, and we'll look at their expenses and we'll try and find 5 to 10%. Trim your expenses by 5 or 10%. You can do that once a year, max. Maybe once every couple of years. Like you think about your power bill, right? You go find a different power supplier. Yeah. You do that today. You find someone that's cheaper. In a year's time, can you do that again? Maybe, but it's probably not going to be drastically different, right? Same, but if you did that with all of your expenses, you went and negotiated a different cell phone provider, and you did that every single month of the year. Well, there's a limit to that. There's a limit to the effectiveness. But if I say, hey, go invest some money in marketing so you can bring some new customers into your business, that the result of that investment might be 5, 10, 15, 30 times the time and money or money that you put into it. And so there's all of these areas of your business that can be much more effective in bringing a profit than just cutting your expenses, which doesn't improve your profitability, but only incrementally and only for a short period of time. Yeah. And so that's where, it's both. It's not one or the other, it's both.
No, yeah. So, and it's about reading the battlefield as it is, and sort of noticing what's actually happening, like you say, with the economy. I don't know too much about the economy, but the government's changed and they're kind of cutting back spending because of, presumably, they feel that the last government overspent with COVID, what have you. They're kind of laying off people. And so you're seeing that's having a flow-on effect to the economy in general and spending and what have you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. You can see that in the numbers right now, and I think I'm not a big economist by any means, so it's not my area of expertise. But I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that spending's come back. I mean, if you just think about personally, what most of us have a mortgage in this country, and like my wife was just saying, between I think. When we last refixed, our mortgage went up $340 a week or something. Yeah. So I don't know, $1,200 a month. Well, that's $1,200 that I'm not spending on something else. So again, it's pretty clear that has an effect. And so,
well, construction is one of the things that I've noticed. Even just with customers coming into the cafe, we get a lot of architects, engineers, project management, and construction guys. Yeah, and they are kind of having little meetings and discussions about, things are getting quiet.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? How are we going to? What would you recommend businesses focus on when? Because there's kind of that thing where it's what would it be? Push and pull. Like the market's not, the demand is easing, and they're now required to go out and kind of push their product out there, or their services. So is this a good time to start kind of focusing on that more?
Yeah. So I love this. This is my jam. This topic. So. We talked about this. We run quarterly events for our clients, and the last one we did on Friday was actually on this very topic. It was around building a one-page marketing plan for your business. And after that event, I was sitting back and looking around the room, and I was like, man, I know all of our clients will be facing similar challenges, right? They're in the same economy as everyone else, but they're sitting here and taking the day out away from their business to work on a marketing plan to grow their sales, grow their profitability.
Yeah.
And so I'm less focused on what the economy is doing and more focused on what can we do to mitigate the effects of that or capture the opportunity, because there is going to be some massive opportunities in the next wee while.
Totally.
And so if you think about the market, that there's 5.3 million people in New Zealand. I have almost zero impact in terms of cooling the economy or inflating the economy. I can't control that, right? That's not within my field of or locus of control, and I can't really even influence it. So if you think, Kerry Evans has this beautiful model in Perform Under Pressure, where he has these three circles: things I can control, things I can influence, and then things I can't control, and they're kind of concentric circles.
Yep. And
so what if you're an owner right now and operating in this economy, what can you control? It's you, right?
Yeah.
One, that saying, if you point the finger at someone, there's three fingers pointing back at you and one up at God. It's like, that's the majority of the control is with me.
Yep.
And so if you think about, well, in any economy or in any market at any given time, the bell curve, the standard distribution of the population applies, right? So there are some people at the right end of the bell curve that are doing really, really well in any market at any given time. And that applies right now in a recessionary environment.
Yeah.
So what are those people doing that the other people aren't? What are the people that are getting amazing results doing right now that the others aren't? And maybe that's hard to answer. Maybe that's hard to answer for people because they don't know. But I'll tell you what they aren't doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They aren't sitting on their hands going, oh gosh, it's a really bad time to be in business. What should we do? We should probably do something about that. They are not doing that.
No, exactly.
We've got a client that's in the professional services. Right now, he's making 5 calls a day. He's going to a cafe, sitting in a cafe, and he's making 5 calls a day, reaching out to 5 new people that he didn't speak to the previous day. That's not rocket science. But I'll tell you one damn thing, is he's going to have a great recession.
Yeah.
He's going to be doing well over the next wee while.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, I love that. I love that because, it's all about what you can, what you do have control over and your response, like having a regulated kind of response, like whether it's, in mental health and all that type of thing. But in business health, it's definitely sounds like it's pretty similar. Like it's taking a bit of a breath and saying, well, you know, these are the cards we've been dealt at this particular moment in time. What can we, how can we respond to that in a way that is going to promote, you know, long-term health and growth?
It's got to be quite a relief to realise
safety.
Hey man, I do have some control in this environment.
Right.
For sure.
It's like, shit, I can actually do something if I just think about it and do the right things.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just, like we just said before, under stress, it's actually inverting the question. If I wanted to really make the situation worse, what would I do?
Yeah.
Because it's not always obvious what I should do, but it's really obvious what you shouldn't do.
Yeah. I read a quote recently about health, like physical health and diet and stuff like that. And the person sort of said, look, it's not so much what you should be doing, it's what you shouldn't be doing that sort of reveals more about the nature of gaining health. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So even just eliminating all of the bad stuff can actually put you, you know, start you moving in the right direction and moving forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mate, I love that. That inversion is really cool.
Yeah, it's
well,
great.
You know, I think we, as a culture, we're looking for a pill. We're looking for a solution. We're looking for a quick fix. But often we're not looking at all of the bad sort of shit under the carpet or under the rug that we just sort of swept under there and
because
don't worry about.
That business owner who's sitting in that cafe making those 5 calls, it might be quite a difficult thing for some people. It might be the thing you don't want to be doing, and you might not be that good at it, and you've got to practice that and all that sort of stuff, but it's the thing you need to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like life is really simple. I think the bit that makes it complicated is when you start, like let's just use fitness for example. The easiest way to get fit is to put your shoes on and walk out your front door.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And eat less food, eat less calories than you're burning, right?
Yeah.
That is so freaking simple.
Yeah.
But the problem is you jump on Instagram and you start scrolling and you get bombarded with this way, that way. You shouldn't be eating this. You should be eating that. You shouldn't be doing this movement. You should be doing that. But actually, when you boil it down, it's it's actually quite simple. And I think sometimes we, in the information age, we get obsessed with finding the perfect pill, as you said, the magic cure, and we forget actually the fundamentals, which are actually pretty simple.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about the, movement as medicine, sleep as medicine, and sort of food as medicine kind of concepts. They are remarkably simple, and if you start there, then you can go further into detail and you can kind of break it down further. But I mean, that's a great starting point. Yeah,
with all this social media stuff, it's like a thick, heavy, sugary fog sometimes. And you definitely got to realise and get back to those basics. But it's just the nature of the age that we're in that we've got to deal with it.
Yeah, that social media thing. What's your perspective on that? Because I feel like, me personally, I'm reaching a point where it's, it seems to have been going up, and the disposable nature of it, it's just constantly churning. As a business owner, you can work on something, put it out there, and it has the shelf life of flipping hours, and it's gone. Back in the day, you would get graphic designers working on, say, an ad or something, and it would perhaps, or a campaign, and they might have a quarterly campaign cycle, and they would kind of get quite a lot of mileage out of it. But nowadays, our social media is just so, like, here and gone. That's starting to drive me crazy. I think you should write an old school book and publish a book, man. People are going to want to put down their phones and pick up books again, I think.
Yeah, I mean...
I think you were a bit crazy before that happened.
Oh, okay.
Just like amplifying it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I find, I don't know about your Instagram feed, but we use Instagram for our business, and like the average attention span on a video is 6 seconds.
Yeah.
That is phenomenally quick. And it's different, but it's different on different mediums. Like if you compare LinkedIn and the kind of content that's on LinkedIn versus the kind of content that's on Instagram, it is
Yeah.
completely different. Same thing with YouTube. Like YouTube now, yes, there's shorts, but there's a longer form.
True.
People are engaging with longer form content.
Yeah.
But it depends on the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge for all of us is we are in this attention economy where businesses are profiting off our attention, and there's some of the YouTubers now are making way more than companies that have been established for decades.
It's outrageous, hey?
It's insane, but it's just attention, right? That's where the money is. The money is in attention.
True.
I have a bit of a reaction to that myself, because I'm like, what does that actually do for the YouTube content is from an entertainment perspective. I'm not saying the stuff that's useful, but from just a pure entertainment perspective, it's not doing a hell of a lot of good for the world. It's not employing someone like you guys.
Yeah, the impact
that you have as a business, employing staff.
Yeah. Putting
money back into the economy. I'm not sure YouTube superstars have that same. Maybe I'm just biased, but
yeah. No, I think proportionally to the profit, it would be relatively small. Yeah, but
those guys are fulfilling some sort of role where it's like,
sure,
I want to watch them because they're interesting.
Well, that's right.
They're out there doing shit that I might not be doing. Very relatable. They're interesting bunch of people.
For sure, yeah, and that's not a criticism on all YouTubers. I think some of them are doing great. Some of them are actually doing some good for the world. I know Mr. Beast has put a lot of stuff back into charity.
Shout out to Mr. Beast.
Mr. What a guy, Mr. Beast. But yeah, I don't know.
I've just been watching some YouTubers. They left Russia. Young people left Russia and they're living in Georgia or some other of those countries nearby. And man, it's so interesting getting their inside perspective on what's going on there. Like that sort of information is so cool.
100%.
But man, there's a lot of fluff and sugar.
Well, what happens is that there's that sort of technological advancement, and it is a thing, and then the business side of things kind of quickly rush in there to trying to capitalise on it. I mean, I remember when the interweb first came about, and pop-up ads were like the new billboard, and everyone, this is the future of marketing, this, that, and the other, and oh my gosh. And now it's just like, who pays attention to a pop-up ad? Like zero. No one does. So I suppose social media, businesses were very quick to chase that kind of that development and sort of emulate those influences, etc., etc., etc. But I do feel we're sort of it's getting a bit thin now.
It is hard, but in saying that, I mean, there's some great opportunities in that for businesses, and yes, there's certain mediums that are getting pretty diluted in terms of advertisers and that are becoming less effective. But there are some great opportunities in that, and I think just to go back on that, I won't just criticise. I think for me, I'm just passionate about businesses because I think the impact that businesses have on our society as a whole is really, really positive. I'm not sure YouTubers
totally
have the same impact.
Yeah.
But if you think about a business owner, a skilled business owner has a massive impact. They impact their team. Think of something as basic as communication. Right? If an owner knows how to communicate really well with their staff and manage people well, and they're managing the people that they employ really well, then that employee goes home and has an impact on their family in a more positive way, and that flows on down through their kids, the way their kids are at school, and so on and so forth. So I think business owners have, as far as like bang for buck on impact, and as an impact goes in society, there's a massive role they play, and so that's what I'm passionate about. But
Yeah.
It's a good thing to be passionate about.
Cool.
partner works in early childhood. And sometimes, I don't know, the management's a bit dubious and stuff. And man, she'll just come home depressed and miserable. So that's the opposite end of that spectrum.
Totally.
What?
Yeah, and that has ripple effects, man, like right through.
One of the other things I've been hearing recently, Marcus, is like that type of
Misery.
yeah, and
it's
but
misery. It's
across
misery.
different industries. I talked to an auto electrician trying to get his apprenticeship the other day.
Okay.
And just really, and this could be a sign of the slowing economy and stuff, but business owners not wanting to get the apprenticeship done quickly, stretching it out a long time so they've got cheap employment, and
That's
then
right.
putting those staff under a lot of pressure and expectation to get the job done, and just really dysfunctional kind of relationships and communication but not just like auto electricians, but in other trades and industries. Man, like the early childhood.
Yeah, mate, it's all over the show.
Yeah, there seems to be a proliferation of dysfunctional, like as much as people were talking about regulation, like there's this dysregulation that seems to be even more, like also around the place. And like that, like the government, like what I think one of the techniques they do as well, they lay off senior staff and they start employing
Juniors.
a bunch of newbies and start moving them up for the next cycle. Like, I don't know if there's a 7-year economic cycle or something. So they lay off the people they've had for the last 5 years, employ a bunch of newbies, and their costs automatically go down, right? So there's that kind of, I've noticed, as well as I look at a lot of business stuff online and I'm totally inspired by it, but a lot of the stories I hear are still quite dysfunctional. Do you have to deal with, I suppose you're dealing with the business owners, so they're quite proactive, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's the story that you might get from an owner is always going to, well, not always, but often different from the story the employee will give you. And there's a fine line, right? Because there is things that as an owner, you're exposed to different pressures. You're exposed to different information that an employee is not faced with. And so the world of an employee can be pretty narrow.
Yep.
And that's not their fault. It's just, it is the way that it is, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, we had a client this week who gave somebody I won't say what industry they're in, but let's say they gave this employee last year a $7,000 pay rise. It's an unskilled job. So they gave them a significant pay rise. They negotiated pretty hard with their business partner to get a more significant pay rise this year. So it's a similar amount, but equally significant. And the employee was like, when he told them last year, they were stoked, but when he told them this year, they were like, we're actually hoping for a bit more. My friend's on more money. Yeah, they are managing 5 staff members, but they're on more money than me. And so I think, but that's because the employees' costs have gone up at home. They're feeling under the pump, and so they're looking at this again significant pay rise. But they're like, oh, that doesn't mean a lot to me. And so who's right, who's wrong in that situation? It's just a tricky situation. But I think owners have a responsibility to, or what makes it easier for owners in those situations is if they can give. I think there's a tendency for owners to just try and keep that information to themselves and not give the context, not be clear on their expectations, and that's really key when you're talking about things like pay. Is, well, people are wondering, well, what do I have to do to get to that next level? Like if my expectations up here, but the owner's not telling me how you get to there, there's not a clear pathway, like the apprentice, for example.
Well, in that case, it was kind of almost being sabotaged, but so
which, I mean, there's
but obviously, there's no excuse for that.
There's no excuse for that.
But I think you're right. A clear communication and stuff with employees and stuff, exactly where you're at. And because people are reasonable and they do understand, and like you say, everybody's in that same environment kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Some people are not reasonable.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all on that spectrum, some level. And some
Well,
people
true.
are right.
At certain
Some
times.
people are less reasonable.
Yeah, less reasonable. Need to be talked to a little bit more, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pay's a tricky one. It's one of the things that we find ourselves discussing a lot, and especially around this time, a lot of people have pay reviews around the end of financial year.
Okay.
But if you step back from it, I think even that phrase is unhelpful. A pay review, as opposed to a performance review. Because when you employ someone, you are engaging somebody to perform a role in exchange for money. And you're saying, I will pay you this amount to do this role at a particular standard. And the idea is if you exceed that standard, then your pay should be reviewed.
Yeah.
But I think where it gets tricky is when it becomes an expectation that you get a pay rise by default.
Yeah.
And similarly, when the owner doesn't clearly show you or explain the pathway to a pay increase.
Yeah.
So if you think about anything you do, there's a standard. There's I could be doing the role to beneath the standard. I could be doing it to the standard, or I could exceed the standard. And to get a pay rise or a pay increase, then I need to, at minimum, meet the standard.
Yeah.
But ideally exceed the standard.
Yep. So there's that keyword performance in performance review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is the key word.
That is the key word, bro.
Yeah.
Like a pay rise, I'm going to get a pay rise even if I screwing shit up or whatever. I deserve that, or that sort of attitude. Yeah, it's the opposite to performance.
Yeah.
Well, and presumably the performance is related to an increase in profitability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's a shared kind of win.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It should be win-win. And if it's not
Yeah.
win-win,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
Work out how to make it win-win.
Yeah, that's right. And that often comes back down to things which are almost very unbusiness-like, like relationships and kind of communication and all these other things. It's not just about, I don't know, strategy or something more like that, which is very kind of human, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean,
relationship performance or what have you.
Yeah, we're doing a relationship review, Milton.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, we had the Canterbury women's rugby coach, Jimmy Sinclair, come and speak to us in late last year. And one of the things Jimmy said, which was really interesting, was in Canterbury rugby, they have this principle of people before performance.
Cool.
And he was like, if people feel safe, then they'll perform. But if they don't feel safe, they won't perform. And so one of the things they're really, really big on is just creating connection and safety within the psychological safety within the players.
Yeah.
And I think in business, that is often something we don't get right. We don't create space for connection. We don't start a meeting with, we start our meetings with what I feel like expressing, and then we share it, and then we finish with, and that's what I feel like expressing. We do that as a group.
Yeah.
We'd start our coaching sessions with that as a way to connect. Like, we're human beings feeling stuff.
Yeah.
And if we just go business, we actually miss that.
Oh, man.
You're a person, Milton. You got stuff going on.
Yeah.
Same with you, right?
Oh, totally. I can imagine that. Totally.
I don't feel like a person at this stage of the morning. But what the hell time is
subhuman?
Yeah, subhuman.
That's one of the downfalls of the podcast, early morning podcast. Yeah, that's totally right. I mean, imagine if you started a meeting going, well, I think, I'm happy to be here. I think we're really blessed to have this opportunity to do this, that, and the other, as opposed to right, I've called this meeting because we're not
Yes.
performing, or we're not freaking doing this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Well, I look on my work as a privilege, and like that flips the script around a wee bit.
Yeah.
Like the power of the words you think and the words that you speak, man, it's so strong. Like using that word for performance, just these little changes in how we think.
That's a
But
huge
work
one,
as
Milton.
a privilege. That's massive.
How do you tell me about that? What's your thinking around work's privilege?
Well, I'm alive. I'm here. That's a privilege. Coming in work, I get to earn money. I get to interact with people. I just get to be part of life, and I just see that as a privilege. It's a privilege to meet you, privilege to hang out with Dave. I'm just on all those levels, and that just feels good.
Yeah.
To view life in that perspective.
And the flip side
I know
is...
what the other perspective is, and that's shit, and that's just going nowhere forever.
Yeah, the flip side is, to me, is kind of... Well, the flip side would be... I can't wait till work's over. And I've got a holiday booked here, and I can't wait. And look, I do have a holiday booked, and I can't wait. But it's also like, you need to kind of integrate work into your life in a much more healthier way, as opposed to just wanting to like have this end goal constantly where you're going to just be sitting on a beach not doing anything. Because
making a cake or whatever, I want to make a really good cake, and I want to how can I up it a little bit from last time? So
But
I'm enjoying that process, so I'm not thinking, I got to get out of here, I've got to bake that damn cake. And
but if all the
it's
focus
it's
is
just
on...
a shitty environment to exist in.
And if all the focus is on not being at work, work
100%.
just becomes a miserable thing.
Which then makes life a miserable thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because most of us spend 40 plus hours at work. And so, as you said, Milton, I love that. I think that's great. If you don't feel like work has a purpose or any sort of meaning...
Work's really important.
And that's half of your waking hours. Flip. That's a sad existence.
I think we're often battling the culture, what it's telling us.
Yes.
Like, successful people don't work. You know, if only I could win the 30 mil on Lotto, I wouldn't have to work. And it's all geared that way. And I think it's probably ultimately to sell us crap. It's that kind of... It's there for a reason.
Disconnection from our own sense of being.
Totally.
It disconnects us.
Yeah.
And that's depressing, man.
It's also on the leaders, I think, to the leaders of a business to instill that purpose piece and instill the meaning of the work. Because I think oftentimes we miss that.
Totally.
We don't, like you guys, for example, like the gift that giving someone a delicious piece of cake is for someone, serving a coffee and is as much a ritual as it is a caffeine hit, right? It's actually a process that a lot of people use to ground themselves and start their day and get into a particular rhythm. And if you zoom out and I'm just freaking slinging coffees, just serving baking stuff, I'm sick of this flour everywhere on my hands and on my clothes, and you miss the gift of actually connecting with people and serving them food which makes them happy, then it's a pretty shallow existence.
Yeah, bro. I mean, sometimes it's like
and
it's a bit gritty, and you've got to keep it real. You can't have this false optimistic bullshit either.
No.
Because that's real sugary again, and it's bullshit. So you've got to keep it real, and when you feel the pain, you feel the pain.
True.
But that allows you to be in the state of feeling all the good shit. Like, for real.
Yeah, and people can identify that and recognise it.
And we're all the same. And
it's reading... Well, when it comes to cake and coffee, it's just reading the customer, right?
Totally.
And sort of... And often, being real yourself. But I think we all relate to the different sort of levels.
Yeah, bro.
Sometimes it can really elevate us.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's okay to feel down and miserable and shit as well. That's totally fine. And it's totally natural too. But you do come out of it. Allow yourself that rhythm.
Totally. And we all have bad days, right? Everyone wakes up I don't buy into the saying if you find something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That is such a crock.
Yeah.
But I buy into an element of it, which is if you do find something that you find, or when you find purpose in something, it makes the work easier.
Yeah, and there'll be moments. There'll be moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Like, look at an Olympic athlete and tell them they've never worked a day in their life. You know?
Yeah, and they're never going to be number one consistently for their entire career, right? It's going to be ups and downs, and they're going to have to work hard to, like, you want those ups, but you need to work for them. Yeah.
But you've got to be able to know that you can handle the downs when they come.
Totally.
Which is quite a stoic viewpoint of the world, but it's really important to, like, you know, if the weather turns real shitty, can I handle that? It's good to have that resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Marcus,
crucial.
Can you? Sorry, Milton.
Okay, mate.
Can you tell us about your $3 problem, which cost you $3,000? I think from memory. That email caught my attention.
Yes.
I
did spend $2,500 when I should have spent $3,000 because I didn't correctly diagnose the problem. I'm going to try and stay above the point and not move into blame, excuses, denial here. Own the problem myself. But
we understand that it wasn't your fault, Marcus. Just to create some safety here.
Yeah. So we had a leak in our garage, and we mopped up all the water, and there was a pool of water in the garage. Put some towels down, mopped it up. Would go away. A couple of days later, this pool of water appears. This happened for a couple of weeks, and I looked in the cylinder, and I could see at the hot water cylinder, I could see there's a pool of water at the bottom of the cylinder, and I'm like, that must mean we need a new hot water cylinder. Called the plumber. Hey mate, got this problem with the hot water cylinder. Think we need a new cylinder. He comes around, pulls the cylinder out, replaces it, does me a solid on the install.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
And
well.
Yeah. Well, there's a but.
Yeah.
So a week later, the pool of water reappears. So I was just like, oh, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And so I look around the area and I'm like, oh, that's really weird. That's weird. The skirting boards are wet. And why would the skirting boards be wet when the cylinder's over here? Oh, maybe it's just soaked up the water. And then I went on into the laundry and looked around the laundry. I'm like, the laundry cabinets have swollen. Like the MDF on the cabinets is swollen. Yeah. There's water in here. And then I started tracing some pipes and I was like, oh my goodness. The water has been leaking out of the washing machine tap where the washing machine connects to the tub.
Yeah.
Dripping down through the cabinet, running down the slight gradient into the garage and pooling there, and we didn't need a new hot water cylinder. All it was a $3 washer.
Yeah.
And I was just so angry, pulling my hair out. But it's such a great metaphor for life, right? As so often we are fixing these and investing time and money into fixing the wrong problem.
Yeah.
And actually, the root cause is pretty low cost and pretty simple, but we're spending money and time, wasting money and time because we haven't diagnosed the problem.
Yeah, totally. And in business, like an example of that would be someone spending a fortune on...
marketing is the classic one.
Oh, okay, marketing, but maybe there's just some simple communication tools or things that they can employ, which would be, within the business, or mindsets that they could alter or change.
Totally.
Within the business or the sales team or whatever, and that doesn't cost a thing, right?
Yeah, so people often ask me, should I spend, or they'll either be spending money on marketing, they'll go, oh, we're spending $10,000 on radio.
Yeah.
Is that a good investment? Wrong, bad question.
Yeah.
Ask a different question. So if you think about should you spend $2,000 on a billboard? before you even answer that question, are you asking your customers for referrals? Or, on a deeper level, is your product actually referable? Is your service referable?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, right? I could go spend $2,000 on a billboard, but not actually fix the problem, which might be on a product or core product or service level, or it might just be a simple system, a $3 system. Just, hey, next time someone comes in, say, hey, we really enjoyed working with you. Do you know anyone who's like you that might be able to use our services?
Yep. That's incredibly kind of simple yet powerful. Yeah.
But how many
Just
of us
like that
actually
washer.
do it?
Yeah, man. Oh no, we've all been in that situation, and we have heaps of problems with our fridges and stuff. Like the commercial ones just seem to crap out all the time.
Interesting.
And one I've been spending $700 on every year. We've owned it pretty much.
They are designed to crap out.
Yeah,
That
doesn't help.
The technician said the coils, they're made thinner these days.
Well,
And they start leaking out the gas.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
they will know that's going to happen.
So that's
right.
a business problem right
I was
there.
going to say.
Well, that's just designed obsolescence, of course.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a shit game.
Yeah, man.
At some level.
Well, yeah. So I ended up working with a company which was doing the repair jobs time and time again, but they never got to the root, the heart of the problem, and they never kind of diagnosed it correctly. They were fixing the symptoms, which was really expensive. For example, this one here, this glass cabinet, it's the guy came and checked it because it wasn't reaching its temperature, so it was always a little bit above. So we were like, okay, we've got to get it fixed. Someone came in. He goes, yeah, there's a leak in it. We've got to take it back to the workshop. Blah 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 blah. And then I was kind of like dreading it because I know that's like a $2,000 fix, and I worked out we'd just put the doors in round the wrong way, so it wasn't sealing properly, and all of the air was constantly kind of drawing in warm air, and that was just the doors, and the tradie didn't notice. Yeah, so. And I don't know, there's numerous examples of that, Marcus, so I feel for you about that $3
Oh, mate, it happens all the time. It happens in people's lives all the time, that crazy stuff. Like a friend of mine, he went to get a warrant in his cool little Honda car that he loved. And he went to get a warrant, and he had to take there was some condensation inside of the headlights. Mm-hmm. They said, everything's all good, but you've got to get this condensation out of the headlights. And my mate said, how do I do that? And they said, just put a hairdryer on it for a little while, and that should take care of it and bring it back in. So my mate went home and he got a hairdryer out and set it up in front of the headlight and switched it on, and he went away, forgot about it, came back out, and his whole car was on fire. His car's a total write-off.
Oh, that is it.
All from trying to get a bloody warrant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. There's the messiness of...
And when I saw the picture of that car, I just cracked up laughing. It was so freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he just rolled with that and move on. Yeah, it happens.
Sometimes you fix the problem and just cause a fire instead. Life's a great teacher, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
I came up with a little saying this morning when I was going over some of this stuff, and I came up with the life of a business is the business of life.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the life of a business is almost the business of a life. That's what I came up with. But
Yeah. There's that self-similar across scale or whatever.
yeah, it's all those human elements and perspective and all that sort of stuff. But,
Yeah.
It is.
One of the things I was going to bring up, I bought a book the other day. It was called The Disciplined Entrepreneurship.
Okay.
It's by a guy from MIT. It's 24 steps to kind of implement if you're starting up a new business. And, obviously you want it to succeed and stuff like that. And it looks at entrepreneurship in a very kind of disciplined kind of way. And I've only really just started it, but one of those things like those 24 steps, they bring it back down just to one page, and they do that kind of lean canvas sort of approach. And I was thinking about the value of that. Their lean canvas has 10 different kind of things on it. just to kind of, get it all on one page. And Milton brought up a story about a military guy. Do you remember who it was or when it was?
I can't remember that right now.
Yeah, but it was relating to a offensive which they and he just wanted it all on one page. And it's incredibly detailed.
That was one of the generals in World War II on D-Day.
Mm-hmm.
One of the American generals, he said, I want all these details. I think it's quite famous, this story. I want all these details just on a A4 sheet of paper on one side so I can look at it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, lower down, people said, that's impossible, you can't do it. He said, well, do it anyway. And, that's what... So he had that same mindset of having that complex situation set out in a simplified form, like in just an overarching thing.
The theory distilled into...
Yeah, because he can fill
key elements.
He's got the mind, he can fill in all the details. He knows there's endless details and all of that, and you could write encyclopedias on it. Mm-hmm. But he wanted it all down on that one sheet in front of him so he can just look at it quick.
Yeah, I think of that saying, simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication.
Totally.
If you can say what you need to say in a distilled form, then the chances are your thinking is really clear. Mm-hmm. And so if it's not, well, we say this with business plans, it's not about the plan, it's about the process of creating the plan. Because you're not going to pull out your business plan when you're coming to make a decision. But if you've been through the process of putting your thoughts on paper and distilling them into their essence, then you've been through that internal process of actually clarifying what the direction is and what the direction is not.
Yeah. So
I think that's the beauty of, it's like an elevator pitch. Like, what's special about an elevator pitch? Nothing. But what is special is the process of distilling what it is that you do into a really short few sentences.
Totally. It's getting rid of all the distractions. Yeah. And once again, just honing it down. That's really valuable. So do you do a lot of that with your customers? I guess it's a constant process but looking at the different areas of the business.
Yeah, it's a game of attention, and so the big challenge of being an owner is you've got what's your job as an owner? Everything.
The overview, yeah.
Sales, marketing, team, new product development. It's finance, it's admin. There's so many different things, and if you jump on Instagram and you get the finance guy saying this and the sales guy saying that and the new marketing technique telling you should be doing this, it's overwhelming, right? And the reality is that you can't do everything. You can't do it all. And so our job as coaches is to direct that thinking, channel it into the area that's going to matter most right now for them. And to do that, then make sure they're executing that plan consistently. So if you imagine a personal trainer in a gym, there's 1,000 different ways that you could get fit, but each personal trainer will have a different bent. They'll gravitate toward a particular movement pattern, or they'll be a strength trainer or a Pilates person or a weights guy or whatever it is, right? And the goal is ultimately you should be flexible, you should be strong, you should have good cardiovascular health, blah, 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 blah. You need all of that, right? But you can't do all of that all at once. You got to narrow the focus and just nail one area and show up week after week after week after week to nail that, and then you move on to another one. Yeah.
Well, the thing about the lean canvas or a business canvas all on one page, for me, especially when I do it, it highlights the weaknesses. Like, there'll always be one or two boxes which I'm just totally stumped at, and I get a little bit creative with.
What you answer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you were to cast your eye over that, you would be like, what's going on here? Like, that is the future problem.
That's the bit you don't want to look at, right?
Yeah, man.
But also the bit that probably would make the biggest difference for you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's the benefit of having people outside of your world, is they see the blind spot before you do.
Yeah.
And they'll force you to, a good coach will force you to confront it.
Yeah, totally.
they'll notice that pattern. They'll say, hey, 3 weeks in a row you've said this. What's happening?
Yeah. Oh, look, we are experts at playing games.
Yeah.
And not confronting hard truths and things that we have to deal with. The one of the little boxes that is difficult for me is I wrote it down, the product unit economics. Like just in like the present or at the early stages, the mid, and then the long term kind of, and making it make sense in all of those different areas. That terrifies me.
What terrifies you about it?
Well, being unprofitable
Yeah.
and not making a profit at those different stages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Often I can make a profit at one stage, but not some of the others.
Yeah.
And it's learning. Like, I guess that has to do with scalability, right? Yeah. But scaling the economic side of things, not just the production. Yeah.
Yeah, which is that whole the dichotomy between the technician and the entrepreneur, right? The technician just wants to craft this beautiful product, and if I make the best product, that'll sell itself. And then the entrepreneur is like, no, stuff the oftentimes. Or this is the extreme version of it, right? The entrepreneur is like, stuff the product, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just get the economics right.
That's right.
And but if you get caught in that thinking where it's like it has to be one or the other, I heard the other day, I think it was Alex Hormozi was saying, like, the difference between getting a 9.1 out of 10 to a 9.5 out of 10 is like 10 times the effort.
Yeah.
But it's only incremental gains.
Yeah.
And that's the balance that I've found challenging, is getting to that point where it's good enough.
Yeah.
And then moving on, because there's the gains, the diminishing returns start kicking in at a point, and you don't want to get over that hill.
Yeah.
You want to get to the point where you're just before you hit that peak. Mm-hmm. You know, when the gains are just starting to level off. Stop developing there.
Oh, cool, man. That's real good advice.
So if you think about like a marketing plan, we're talking lots about marketing today, but let's say a marketing plan. You could spend hours and days and months on developing this marketing plan, but what point do you stop planning and start executing?
Yeah.
You could work on a telemarketing script or a cold calling script, an email campaign, and you could work on it for a whole year. Or you could do 5 hours on it. Did you need to do the 6th hour or the 7th hour?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're only getting, like you say, incremental gains.
Yeah, that's
and
what
Nathan
we had Nathan on from...
Nathan McGregor? Or
Nathan,
the Partly guy?
From Partly.
Oh, Nathan Taylor.
Nathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Great business.
Yeah, man. Amazing bunch of guys. Like, super talented. And he just said an idea without executions is useless. He just summed it up real tersely and nailed it.
Yeah, I needed to hear that as well.
Yeah. It's good to be around.
Good.
It's good to be around Nathan. He's like such a smart guy.
Yeah.
Well, quite down to earth, and they've got a team. You know, they started off with four people, and I think that must just real help bouncing the ideas off of each other, holding each other accountable, and probably if anyone's prone to whatever you call it, perfectionism or something like that, or just forever refining things to a point of absurdity, they could probably be snapped out of it by, we've reached the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we actually have to do. Yeah,
execute. And I find that often that's a big thing with owners, is that my clients at least, is they just need someone to ask them that question, like, how much longer do you need on this? What are you looking for? What happens at this point? Like, if you get to this point, what happens?
Yeah.
And if we stop,
confetti will come down and balloons and
and most people they'll realise the absurdity of
that's right.
But you need somebody to actually ask you that question, like, okay, what is it that you're waiting? What is it that you need? Because it's all about a need. It's a fear.
Yeah.
But if somebody confronts you with that fear by asking a good quality series of questions, then you look it in the face and you objectively assess. Like I had a client yesterday who we were talking about, someone on his team, and he was describing the challenge that he's having with this person on his team, and I said to him, so it sounds like he's not doing what you expect. Have you told him what your expectations are? He's like, oh, no, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? And then I said, okay, so what are your expectations? And he's like, well, I think he should be answering his phone. And I'm like, how often do you think he should be answering his phone? Like, once a day? Well, when I call him, he should call me back. Okay, but like the same day or within 4 hours or within 1 hour?
Yep.
And until you actually clarify exactly what it is that you want, the other person's going to interpret that differently, right?
Totally.
So sometimes these things are really obvious, but it's not until you're actually describing the situation to someone else, or even, as you said, David, like putting it down on paper and actually seeing your own thoughts.
Yep. Yeah.
Outside of your mind and down on paper, that can be really helpful as again, holding up the mirror to your thinking and go.
Yeah, well, we swing one way or the other. We don't want to micromanage people, but we need to communicate expectations and like the level of like what we're wanting to aim for, the target and stuff. But yeah, not to a point where you're going to lose trust and you're going to set people up to fail, but just in a point where you're kind of giving them a goal.
It's a series of diplomatic and smart questions rather than just going, "You're freaking scared, mate," or whatever. Got to dance around a wee bit.
Yeah.
What's this book? I noticed you read heaps of books here, Marcus. The Road Less Stupid. The
Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham. It's one of my favourite books. Keith Cunningham does a bunch of stuff with Tony Robbins. He runs the business side ran the business side of Tony Robbins' programs. And he made a fortune in the real estate game and then lost it all and then built it back up again.
I like those people that lost it all.
He's just distilled all his... Oh, that's me.
This is mine. No, that's my scones.
That's you? Oh, I thought that was me. It's the same alarm as me.
Oh,
I'm glad it's you. I thought it was my alarm going off.
You can get the scones out of the oven, Marcus.
Yeah, there's so much wisdom in that book. It's unbelievable. Like, you could read just chapter 1 in that. You could read for the next 10 years and just mull over. But one of the key things that I took away from that book was developing the discipline of thinking time.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? And most people, when I say that, people go, like there's an immediate reaction to that, like,
No, I mean...
On the flip side, though, it's the biggest gift you can give yourself is getting space to zoom out.
Because what it means, Marcus, is putting down your phone and stop scrolling. Because when we do have free time to think, we don't think.
But there's an art to thinking.
There is an art to thinking.
That's scary, bro.
And that's what he kind of teaches you in the book.
Yeah.
To an extent, he teaches you how to think and the kinds of questions that you can ask to get you thinking. I have a bit of a blended process of kind of some stuff that he's done and some stuff that I find works for me. Like my thinking time is not like sitting in a chair and just being with my thoughts. It's notebook open with a pen, and I write the question that I'm thinking or the thought that I'm thinking. I'll write that, and then I'll circle it, and I'll draw another arrow or a diagram. Mine's very like kinesthetic. But usually what happens in all of our thinking, there's a bunch of fears. There's some concerns that we're worrying about, but we haven't necessarily identified what the root concern is or what some of the solutions might be that actually deal with the problem, not the symptom.
Yeah.
And so that sitting down and actually working that through, getting your thoughts onto paper creating that separation, and then getting clear on what is the core issue, separating the symptom from the problem, that is massively beneficial. And something I would recommend every owner builds into their work.
And that's just a classic. Like all of these things, a lot of these problems that we come to face, like taking a concept to the point, like that last percentage or whatever, where there's no that diminishing rate of returns or whatever. I mean, an entrepreneur is like part of their character or part of their thing that they're developing is quite. It's quite obsessive. Like they need to kind of obsess over something to such a point where they make it great. But so you're always kind of battling that to and fro. Like you're thinking. It can be a more disciplined kind of process, eh?
In saying that, I think we're often subconsciously we're picking up on things. You know, our brains and minds are fascinating things, right? We're picking up on these little. We're great at seeing patterns, noticing patterns.
Yeah.
And so subconsciously we're noticing patterns either in the things that we're doing or what's happening as a result of the things we're doing. But we're not necessarily conscious of those. But we're picking up on them. So if you think of, like, right now there's probably 15, 16 thoughts that are running around your head, just questions that are on repeat.
Yeah.
But there's probably a couple of hundred of little subtle worries or concerns or fears that are just sitting there, but we're not conscious of them. And so that process of sitting down and thinking about all the things that you're thinking about and mulling over some of those questions that you're perceiving but not necessarily
I can imagine that they will they'll paralyze us. Well, and we don't know what they are. Yeah, potentially they can just sort of paralyze us and stop us going into that growth mindset type of thing. They can just be holding us back.
Yeah, without us realising it.
Exactly.
Like
without
my
us
coach
realising it.
a few weeks ago was like, he noticed what I was doing with some. He was like, "You have a." He just said to me, I sold him this big story on why I hadn't done something.
Yeah.
And he was like, I forget what he said, your character doesn't like urgency, I think was what he said. And I was like,
oh man, did he hit a nerve?
100%. Yeah. He was like, I was like, rubbish. My character doesn't like urgency. Yeah. I'm doing lots of stuff, but I wasn't doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize it. I thought I was in action doing stuff, but I was doing the wrong stuff. So it wasn't actually, what he said was, he didn't hit the core issue, but he hit pretty close to it.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, like, that's where we just don't see our own blind spots.
Yeah, totally.
Because you can't.
100%.
No.
You're inside
That's right.
your head doing your thing.
I loved the way Harry framed it, your character.
Yeah.
It's kind of like depersonalizes it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool approach.
That's right, yeah. And it's open to change. You can examine it and 100%. You can keep part of it and lose part of it. Yeah. Hey, I just realised it's almost 7 o'clock, 5 minutes. I've got to open up the cafe, Marcus.
Open up the doors.
Yeah.
Oh, that time slipped by pretty quick.
It's gone real quick.
Yeah, man. Here's the menu, and we will have you back on the podcast sometime to find out.
To interview you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, man.
Sweet, man.
Dave.
Beautiful. Look at that. I can smell Milton scones, and
It's always good, eh?
they're smelling amazing. Are they cheese?
Yeah, very cheese. Heaps of cheese in them. Nice and crispy on top. Moist and nice in the middle. Fluffy. Beautiful. Good. What do you think you might like for breakfast then, Marcus? So often, like, short order menu
Just
there.
short. The granola's looking amazing.
Okay, bro.
Sweet as. Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time.